Fuck the oblique turn peak of the soul. Peace never know what's about to occur, but my zen getting rolled at the turn of your words. Run at the meat and my steamer is broke. Fuck the oblique turn peak of the soul. Peace never know what's about to occur, but my zen getting rolled at the some little words. On my jump, stop and duck, knock and rust off for cigarettes. In it says smoke, out it says no. Cloud of the road that I play, so I know by their intimate business and building to settle the bitches at home want a told, but I want a loan or a job or something to
Alright,
hold.
hopefully that should sync up in some way or another. Oh, my, that is extraordinarily hot. But yeah, this is going to be another segment for what I imagine will be the third episode. So, in whichever state you are when you're watching this, I hope you're having a good time. I hope your summer's been good. I hope it continues to be good, because, you know, summer doesn't end until, like, 2/3 into September. Sometimes the school year makes me forget that. Well, has made me forget that. And, you know, I recall last year, in the lead up to university, I was so anxious. I was worried about what the school would be like, what it was going to be like living away from home. That was a minor part of it, but the biggest part was concern about what the people would be like at university. You know, I was conscious that it was a small course of only 20 people, and those, you know, the hand you're dealt is the hand you're dealt, and you can't really avoid that. Luckily, the huge majority of the people I met at university were kind, open, welcoming, you know, had their own interesting ideas and offered like a valuable kind of bouncing board for my own. And I feel very accepted and very welcomed by the people I met. But I mean, now my perspective's completely changed. This year I'm more excited than ever. I think this is honestly the most excited I've ever been to return to school in my life, and I feel so grateful for that, because I think what I've been granted is a great opportunity. I have a great place to learn. I have a great group of people to work with. There's going to be even greater opportunity now to work with people not just in my year but below and above, because COVID restrictions hopefully will be a bit eased down. I will have had my second dose of the vaccine. Oh god, I hope that fucking background noise isn't too jarring, but it's what you have to deal with, you know? But yeah, this segment I wanted to talk about perspective, because I feel like I should have touched upon it already in this series, the new season, because it is without a doubt the most important word in my life. It's the most important concept in my life, if you believe in it, you know? I think all the gratitude that I have for my life is only possible because of my perspective. All the adversity that I face, all of the anxieties that I have, the only way that I deal with it is through perspective, you know? And I guess if I were to elaborate on that, growing up and having like a life in England and having a family in Spain and getting to go holiday there as often as I've been able to, being an older brother and being a younger brother as a middle child, that's been a great, you know, source of having different perspectives and having families that are so different and offer such different valuable perspectives to me. You know, it just shows that, well, for me, I have this chain of thoughts. I think that your perspective determines your attitude, and your attitude determines your experience. And so if I really trace that back, I try and think that if I want to change how I'm experiencing things, I need to change my attitude towards those experiences. You know, that's pretty simple. You can't change how you're going to experience something unless you're willing to approach it from a different mental perspective. Well, attitude might just be those might be interchangeable, but I think to properly change your attitude, you need to change your perspective. You need to change maybe your motivations or the things that you factored into making those decisions. You need to step back and look at the way you've been looking at things and think, maybe there's a better way of doing this, or maybe there's flaws. And now that I've come to the end of my holiday here in Spain, or I am coming to the end, I think about how I want to live when I'm back in England, how I can almost reorder myself in order to best take advantage of this opportunity. You know, I really enjoyed the first year at university. I feel very grateful for the time that I spent there, but I'm also very conscious that I could have done a lot more. I could have done a lot better. And I don't have anyone to blame but myself. You know, that more than ever now as an adult, I'm responsible for my actions and the way I take hold of these opportunities. And as well as I feel like I've done, I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice if I don't apply myself fully. And I think that's a problem I've had in general. I think oftentimes I convince myself not to do the things I know I should, or I know that would help me, because I don't believe in myself, or I take my opportunities for granted. And realistically, I can't do that anymore. Not when I'm so aware of how lucky I am. And to an extent, I have been for a while lucky, but there's been almost like a cognitive dissonance, just like, yeah, I'm lucky, I've got good opportunities, I'm in a very privileged position, but almost like I just kind of sat with it. And now that I've spent some time away from my life in England, in Bristol and in Salisbury, I look at the future and I think I need to hit the ground running, and I need to hit the ground running fast, because I'm only 2 years away from one of the most competitive industries going, and it's very sink or swim. And it's not like I've been sinking, but I haven't been doing too much swimming either. I need to take more agency, I think, and just make myself accountable and think, how can I maximize every opportunity? How can I tangibly affect my own career and the career of those around me, and contribute to my own happiness in a more substantial, tangible way? I think to do that, it requires perspective. It requires sitting back and going, what have I really done the last year? What have I achieved? What contributed to those successes? I think more than anything, it's hard work and cooperation. Those are the two most simple ones, and it just means I need to cooperate more and work harder. And, there's obviously the idea of working smarter as well, not just harder. The idea that you need to apply yourself in a way that's efficient and that gets you to your goals in kind of a clear and demonstrated path. But I think more than anything, it's the recognition that I could be doing more. So, going forward, I'm going to set myself some very clear targets. I'm going to break those targets down into achievable steps. And hopefully I can look back in the next couple months and be proud of what I've done. And feel, I think a lot of my anxiety comes from the subconscious notion that I'm not doing enough, that time's going by and I'm kind of letting it go. I think this year particularly, when I return to England, I want to make sure that every opportunity is taken, and I'm there for all of it. I'm present, I'm active, and more than anything, I'm enjoying it because I feel proud and fulfilled with my work. But yeah, all of that requires a bit of perspective. I kind of want to just let myself swing back and forth here. I mean, really, if I'm adding some perspective to this shot here, this might just look like a rusty swing in a dusty car park behind a relatively old building, but that flat up there, my grandma's flat, it contributed so hugely to the person I am today. The experiences I had there, the feeling of togetherness, the dinners at New Year's Eve, and the nights with the cousins messing around, watching terrible dub TV, having amazing food in one of the smallest kitchens that I'm habitually in. And from the outside or from an unknowing perspective, it might just seem like an ordinary little flat or a pretty unremarkable car park, but to me this is like one of the most important places in the universe. And I know I could have just said the world, but I don't know, this feels like a pretty universally important place to me.
Foot slightly in the shot. Do you like that?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Alright, I'm gonna clap with my chest. That's such a weird thing to say. Alright, in one way or another, this bad boy will be synced. And it's gonna take me a hot sec to just be able to speak and get into the of what I want to say. Because if I do this tonight, which I believe I'm gonna put this video together tonight, because I'm a fucking beast. No. If I put this video together tonight, I feel like it should have some cohesiveness with what I spoke about last time. And yeah, so last segment I filmed, which hopefully will precede this one, will have been in Spain, in the car park of my grandma's flat. And I was talking about, my convictions, about changing my ways and improving my life, and, tackling things that I needed to tackle. So yeah, I'm gonna just roll into it. I thought, actually, no, I need to go back to my quote ways. Oh, it's too late. Let me just spontaneously think of a quote. Oh yeah, I'm gonna use a quote that I like from my friend Sam from uni. Shout out. His quote is, "Nobody hates your face more than you," and it's facts. I mean, this isn't exactly what I was planning to talk about, but for a long while I've been thinking about the fact that we kind of, I hate to use the sentence, we live in a society, but we do genuinely live in a society where we're convinced that the way you are is not okay, and you need to be different to the way you are to be better, I recall when I was in secondary school, I'd oftentimes look at somebody and I think, man, I'd have it so much easier if I were them, or these problems are mine, I wouldn't have to worry about if I were them. And then, you get older and you develop a bit more perspective. There's our thematic link. And you realise that everybody has problems to deal with, and it's tough for everyone. And until you walk a mile in their shoes, you really don't know whether it's easier to be them. And yeah, maybe that's what I can talk about, because I think for a long time, naturally, childhood is like a very egocentric experience. You grow up and you can only live through your own eyes. You only experience things because you're there, and it's hard for you to understand that, hey, maybe this is more difficult for someone else than it is for you, or maybe there's more opportunity for you than there could be for others. And yeah, get a bit older and you realize that the world is so complicated, there's so much going on, that you're just lucky enough to be where you are and doing what you're doing. And I guess to a certain extent, how I would wrap that into what I was talking about in the last clip was how I think to double down on your aspirations and your targets and what you want to get done in order to feel fulfilled, you have to understand not only that you are valuable as you, but you and yourself have potential to develop into a better version of you. And that sounds obvious, and I'm sure I'm not the first one to say it, but until you realize it, until you fully conceptually accept that you are you and you have potential to be so much more, I think it opens you up to so much more opportunity and so much more just kind of freedom, I guess. I mean, naturally, for example, there'd be parts of growing up where you're afraid to do things because of how others may perceive you or how you may perceive yourself, but I think over time, if you understand that you're just making like an honest and earnest effort towards kind of an honest representation of you, which is something I was talking about earlier with a friend, if you're just making an honest effort, there's not much else you can do. It kind of harkens back to those things of like, it's not the failing that's the most important part, it's the trying. And I guess for a long time I would let like my insecurities and my anxieties paralyze me and just be like, it's not worth trying because it's not worth the failure, it's not worth that feeling of regret, when in reality, it's in the making, it's in the doing where all the learning gets done. And so that's part of what I'm doing here. Today I spent a big chunk of time editing this thing that I've been doing for my dad, for a trailer. I wonder whether I'll put it up on YouTube, but anyway, I'm quite happy with how it's been going. And truthfully, I'm not that capable of an editor. I'm just like, I can just put the bare bones together, but just being sat there in the chair and confronting it and doing it, I just feel like, yeah, I'm doing what I need to do, and I don't have anything looming over me. I don't feel like I'm lacking in any way or I'm behind. I just feel like I'm meeting the opportunities as they come, and I do feel like I'm honestly just doing what I can. And naturally, there's always more that you can be doing. You can always be better. You can always do more. But as I said, if you just wake up and you're taking the day on like you mean it, like that's what it's all about, really. My dad always used to talk about this metaphor about how two people, I won't name them, would tackle my football team. But one person would go into the tackle like half-hearted and not with much positive energy, not with the idea that they were going to win the ball. And then there was another player where every single tackle he would charge into it, staring at the ball, fully running into it, and you would just watch him and you would know when he was running towards it like that, he is winning that ball. And I think the person who naturally went in half-hearted with less positive kind of mindset and less eye on the ball or whatever, they would get clattered. And I think my dad would use that as an analogy for life. You know, it's the kind of thing of, if you charge forward into it, if you're putting positive energy forward and you're making that honest attempt, you're probably going to turn out all right if you're lucky to be as privileged in a position as me. That's something I have to contextualize nearly every video, because, you know, not everybody's in the same position, and I'm just grateful to be where I am. So going forward, I think hopefully I will watch this back, and maybe, you know, whoever else is in the audience will watch this and think, whatever you have going on, wake up tomorrow and do it, you know, because it's very ironic for me to say, because for a long time I'd be the person that didn't, but I can tell you for certain now that now that I am, and now that I do it in such a way that I believe I'm going to come out better for it, I just feel more at peace than I have for a long time.
Say you won't find hidden death, introspect dies on the internet. If it's what did I'm special, what to? Nobody's killed me, death proof. Wrote from the seed did test you, but I vex you. So I went on that principle, bested the racket. Your dad, that son of the rappers, like guess who was back with a packet of fags. Get so off topic when topping the legs. It's a shame that I failed my bag, failed my mama, my papa, my grands. I'm trying to get back in the game, I'm just packing. I'm packing the stack on my own, cause the dash like I'm Gambit. I might speak some French on your ass. Guess I twang, step back. The meat and my steamer is broke. For the oblique turn, peak of the soul. Peace never know what's about to occur, but my zen getting rolled at a turn of your words. Run at the meat and my steamer is broke. For the oblique turn, peak of the soul. Peace never know what's about to occur, but my zen getting rolled at the turn of your words.
What is on my head, what's your deck, what can waste, what whisk up the eggplant, honey.